You recognize this theme. You might not know where it's from, but chances are you've heard of it. There's more than meets the eye about this theme, and more importantly, the town it represents. Behind the overall creepy atmosphere, there are several psychological techniques at play. Yo, I'm Arieis, and today we're going to be going over the deepest and creepiest town in all of Pokemon, Lavender Town. Lavender Town has a bunch of obvious things that make it creepy. For starters, the town's relationship with death. The Pokemon Tower is obviously a burial ground. Of course, in the mainline games, there's the Cubone's mother. In the anime, there's an episode titled Tower of Terror, where Ash literally dies. The town has a track record of death, which is the baseline of the creepiness. Overall, there's one thing I feel whenever I think of this town the most: loneliness. It's just like a small weight on your stomach, but it grows the longer you stay. There's a reason for this, and it all comes down to the thing behind most uncanny old things. As far as I know, there's no name for this, but I personally like to call it Mario 64 Syndrome. In the same year Pokemon Red and Blue came out, a game would come and reshape the future of gaming forever. Super Mario 64, a happy-go-lucky game where you need to save Princess Peach from Bowser's evil clutches. However, today, when I look at it, it's changed. Things feel unnerving. There's a lot of overlying creepiness to the whole thing, but why? Why does everything in this game just make me feel uncomfortable? I'll tell you right now, it's not the creepypastas mostly that make you feel this way. It's not that every single copy of the game is personalized, or that Wario's apparition will appear, or Yoshi will at some point miss the waterfall. No, this is something that has only infected older technology, and older things in general. The limit of their capability. When we look at one of the most powerful consoles on the market, the PS5, compared to the N64, the differences are staggering. With it having over 4,000 times the memory and over 1,000,000 times the storage, technology has truly come a long way. But because of the limitation of that time, they were unable to populate these games like we can today. So what we're left with is huge empty spaces, with nothing but our minds to fill the gaps. I'm going to stop here with everything to do with Mario 64, but I do eventually want to do a video covering this game, so look out for that. Maybe subscribe if you want to. But things like that are what make games like Mario 64, Half-Life, or Majora's Mask, and many other games super creepy. It's also the same technique on how most of analog horror is made. It is meant to look thrown together and shitty to make your brain fill in the rest. But this is what brings me back to Lavender Town. To me, one of the creepiest parts about Lavender Town is how cramped and unfinished it feels. The lack of colors, or really anything, will force you to fill in the gaps. It creates such a gripping atmosphere that brings me a lot of uneasiness. However, there was one more thing that I think fully immersed me in the creepiness of this town. It's called Lavender Town Syndrome. The story goes back in the late 90s. There was a peak in mental illness with children roughly around February of 1996 in Japan. This illness would come into play whenever a kid would reach Lavender Town and hear the soundtrack. Hidden in the soundtrack were very high frequencies that only kids and teens could hear. It's not known why, but these frequencies would often lead to irrational acts and several headaches from kids who have never reported having these. Worst of all, 200 kids would then take their own lives after hearing this theme. It was said that they either jumped from great heights or hung themselves. If you look in the spectrogram of the Lavender Town theme, there's also a ghost present, with 5 unknown behind them, reading, "Leave." Now, is Lavender Town Syndrome a real thing? No. All of it was just made up for a creepypasta. And the spectrogram is fake as well. I even checked from the direct rip of the game, and no, they're nothing alike. So why am I even talking about this? Well, in general, when something has a story this tragic attached to it, it's hard not to find it creepy, even if it isn't true. It's actually one of the many reasons why I never want to touch the original Red and Blue games. But as time has gone on, Lavender Town has been through many changes. The town has just sort of become almost a breeding ground for some bad internet creepypastas that just aren't that good. But because the town has continuously gotten updated, I feel that it's started to lose what made it creepy. It's almost like if someone remade a good analog horror into a movie and didn't keep what made most of it terrifying. Sure, you'll have a good story and most likely a good movie, I hope, but ultimately it replaces the limitation that made the original so scary. Super Mario 64 DS is a great example. It remade the original game and did it very well, but you don't see any creepypastas or analog horror series based on the DS port. Mainly just fake Waluigi trolls that are just trying to waste your time. But that's because the DS port fixed a lot of the lonely atmosphere by adding more enemies and bunnies and whatever else they added to that fucking game. I'm not complaining about this, by the way. I think the game is good. And obviously the original was never meant to creep people out. But this is another great example of what happens when hardware limitations aren't an issue anymore. Now, Lavender Town has been remade 5 separate times with 6 separate themes. And if you listen to these themes, you slowly start to see it morph into something else that it wasn't originally. Of course, this happens with time, and there will always be the original to go back to if you really want to. Lavender Town has been always one of the most interesting towns to me, but maybe Game Freak, and this is more of a plea, give Lavender Town and the rest of Kanto a rest. Oh my god, please, dude, I don't want another Kanto game, please! Anyway, thanks for watching.